Hello coders, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, we'll be covering everything you need to know about Git and GitHub to start your coding journey. So let's dive in. So in this video, in the first part, we'll be covering Git and its basic commands. Then we'll understand what is GitHub. Then in the third part, we'll understand what is branching in Git. Okay, so let's dive in. So first of all, we'll visit the official website of Git and we'll check what they have to say about Git. So if you type Git in the browser, you'll see the website of Git and it says Git is a free and open source distributed version control system. So we'll understand what is version control system. So imagine you are working on any application and on 21st of May you write some code, you implemented functionality 1. On 22nd of May you write some more code, you implemented functionality 2. On 23rd of May you write some more code, you implemented functionality 3. And this code will grow over the time. So what if I ask you how my code looks like on the first day, or suppose this functionality 3 it contains some error, it contains some buggy code that breaks your application. So in that scenario, what you will do? So what you will do, you will basically remove all the piece of code, you remove all lines of code that you implemented in this functionality and will bring it similar to the previous version where application was working properly. So think how tedious this task is to manually remove every line of code that you implemented in functionality 3, right? So here version control system comes into picture. So what version control system does? So let's talk about how your code looks on 21st of May. So it contains only functionality 1. On 22nd of May, your code contains functionality 1 and functionality 2. On 23rd of May, your code contains functionality 1, functionality 2 and functionality 3, right? So what version control system does? It takes the picture of this code base on 21st of May. It takes the picture of your code on 22nd of May. It takes the picture of your code base on 23rd of May. So it maintains the history of your code bases over time. It tracks the changes that you have done in your project over time. So if you want to know how my code looks initially, so you can easily identify that my code state was this on the first day, right, where it only contains functionality 1. Or if suppose functionality 3, if it contains buggy code and it breaks your application, so instead of manually removing all lines of code, you can simply move to the previous version, because version control system, it is having the picture of your code base, the previous versions of your code base, so you can easily move back to any previous version where your application was working well. So these are some of the use cases of version control system. Okay, or suppose if you're working on any large project where there are many people who are contributing to the code, so how other people can identify that who has done this change? So Git also maintains the user ID who has done this change. So Shivam with email address shivam@gmail.com has committed this change, has done this change, has implemented this functionality 1 on 21st of May. abc@gmail.com has done this code change, he has implemented functionality 2. So Git maintains this kind of version, it maintains the code bases version, it maintains who has done the changes, what changes were done and when the changes were made. So this type of history is maintained by Git. So it is like a time machine for your code, right? So what we have understood, we have learned. So we have learned what is version control system, we have learned what is version control system. Okay, so now how we can install version control system in our machine, in our local machine, how we can install version control system. So there are various tools that helps in version controlling, right? And Git is one of the most popular version control system. There are other as well like Piper, which is used by Google, but Git is the most popular tool. So we will see how we can install Git in our local machine. Okay, so what we can do, we'll go to the official website of Git and we'll see the download section. So in the download section, you can download Git based on your operating system. So once you downloaded Git in your local machine, and if you open up your terminal and type Git, if it is showing this kind of stuff related to Git, then it's indicator that Git is successfully installed in your machine. Now if you want to know the version, if you type git hyphen v, git space hyphen v, so it will show you the current version which is installed in your local machine. Okay, so we have seen how to install git in your local machine. Now if you type git cheat sheet in browser, if you type git cheat sheet in browser, you will see a git cheat sheet by GitHub. So if you open this sheet, you will see it contains all the installation guide and all the commands which Git supports, right? So we have installed Git in our local machine. Now we have to configure some global settings. We have to configure some global settings. So what is this global setting? So this global setting contains your username and your user email address. So we have earlier discussed that in a large project where many people are contributing to the code, so if anyone wants to know who has done this change, right? So this global setting, this setting that we will configure in Git, where we are setting up username and email address, it will help us other people to understand or know that okay, Shivam has made this change or who has implemented this functionality. So it is very easy to track the user who has done the changes. Okay, so we'll see how we can configure these global settings in our local machine. So if you type git config hyphen hyphen global user dot name, so it will show you my name. So I have already configured my username and my user email address for Git. So how you can do yours? So if you type git config hyphen hyphen global user dot name and then your name, so it will set up your username for Git, right? If you type git config hyphen hyphen global user dot email, so user dot email user dot email, so it will show up my email address. If you want to set up your email address, you can do it using this command git config hyphen hyphen global user dot email and your email address abc@gmail.com, right? Okay, so we have seen how we can set up global settings for Git in our local machine. We have seen how to configure global settings. Okay, now what we can do, let's create a project in our local machine and we will see how Git works. We'll see all the basic commands that Git supports. So we will go to our terminal. In my desktop I'll create one project, so I'll go to my desktop, I'll create one project and name it Git tutorial. So I'll go inside this Git tutorial project and we'll open this project in VS Code. So you can download VS Code in your machine, and when you type code space dot, it will open your project in Visual Studio Code. Okay. So now what I have done, I have installed Git in my local machine. Now what I want Git to keep track of all the changes that I do in this project. So what I have to do first, I have to first enable Git for this project. So how I can enable Git in this project? So I have to type one command, it git init. So what this git init command does, it initializes empty Git repository in my tutorial project. So what you see, it created a .git folder inside my project. So that is by default hidden. So if you go inside this folder, you will see there are many files, right? So this this .git folder, it contains all the history of our code bases. We don't need to touch this file. You need to simply know that this .git folder, it contains all the history of our code base version. Okay. So we have now enabled Git in our local project. Now we have enabled Git in our project, and now we'll see the basic commands of Git. So let's create a file and name it names.cs. Names.cs, right? And here I will implement a simple code. I'll write a simple method public void set name. Okay, so I have written a simple line of code. I've implemented one method. I've written one method. Now I want Git. Hey Git, I have written my code. Please take the picture of this code so that I can refer it in the future. So what Git will say you? Git will say you, hey, if you want to, if you want me to click the picture of your changes of your code base, then you have to first bring it to the staging area. So if you type git status. So what is this git status command? Oh, so we are inside .git folder, so we have to come out of it and then we can type git status. So if you type git status, so this command will show you, hey, that you have modified this file in this project, and this file is not being tracked by Git. Okay, so if you want Git to track this file, you have to first bring it to the staging area. So what is this staging area? So let's understand. So if you do any changes in your project, you have to first bring it to the staging area. You have to first bring it to the staging area, and then only you can ask Git to click the picture of this code base. Okay, so how I can look into the changes that I did which is not in the staging area? So I can write git status command. So git status command will show you all the changes in your project which is not in the staging area. So first I have to bring my changes to the staging area. So I can bring it to the staging area using the command git add and the name of the file. So name of the file is names.cs. So now this changes are in my staging area. So now what I can do, I can ask it, hey Git, I have already brought my changes onto the staging area. Please click the picture of my code base. So it is like a real case scenario. If you go to a wedding party and if you want your picture to be clicked, you first have to go to the stage. Then only photographer will click your picture. So same, if you want click, if you want Git to click the picture of your code base, you have to first bring your changes to the staging area and then only Git will click its picture. So now I have already brought my changes to the staging area. So now I will ask Git, hey Git, please click the picture of my code base. So I can ask Git using the command git commit -m and the user friendly message. So I can write names.cs added. So it will show you that there is one file change and there was 3 insertions made. Correct. I have added 3 lines of code in this file. Okay. So what is this commit basically? This commit is basically you are asking Git to take the snapshot of this code base. So it is basically a kind of picture of your code base. Picture of your code base at this period of time. Okay. So if I create another file and name it student.cs, and if I create one method, let's say public 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 void set student detail. So if I write this method and I'll simply initialize the age of the student. Okay, now I have created another method in another file. So if I write git status, since you have modified this file is not in the staging area yet. So if you type git status, it will show you that you have modified student.cs file, which is untracked. That means it is not being tracked by Git. So what you have to do, you have to first bring this change to the staging area. So you can write file name, and if you don't want to write the file name, then you can write dot. That means everything inside this project which is not in the staging area, please bring it to the staging area. So using command git add dot, you can bring all the changes which is not in the staging area to the staging area. So now my all the changes which was not in the staging area is now present in the staging area. Now I can ask git, hey git, please click the picture of my code base. So I can type this command git commit hyphen m and user friendly message student.cs added, right? One file change and four insertions, correct? There are four lines of code that I have added. What we have seen, so we have seen how we can enable git in our project using the command git init. We can bring our changes to the staging area using the command git add. You can ask git to click the picture of your code base using the command git commit. Okay, now if you want to look at all the commits that you have made in this project, so how you can do it? So you can type git space log. So it will show you that hey, you have two commits in your project. So the first commit was made by Shivam on 9th June at this time, and the message was names.cs added. Okay, you have another commit which is committed by Shivam on this particular time frame. Okay, so if I want to see the log in sorter form, I can write git log hyphen hyphen one line. So now I can see there are two commits, and this commits, so this is basically the commit id. This is 4 or 5 characters of this complete commit id, and what it is saying that names.cs added, the first commit was names.cs added, and in the second commit you have names.student.cs added. Okay, so we have seen how can see the commit history, right, using the command git log. And if you want to see the logs in sorter form, we can write git log hyphen hyphen one line. Okay, so we have seen command git log and git log hyphen hyphen one line. Okay. Now let's do changes in this file. Now let's add some more line of code in names.cs class. So I'll write another method, public void public string get name. So it will return a string. It will return a string, right? So I have added another method. So I have added another method in this class. So if I write git status, it will show you that you have modified this file, and this file is not, these changes are not in the staging area. So you have to first bring it to the staging area if you want git to click the picture of this code base. Okay, so if you write git diff command, git diff command will show you, it will compare your current code with the previous code version which was committed, right? So in this file, this code are already committed. We have already taken the picture of this code base. We have added this code. So this is the current code which has not been committed. So it will show you the difference between both the changes, what changes we did. So we have added this method, correct? So now if you write git log hyphen hyphen one line, so we are having these two commits. Now if you want to commit this, then what we can do, we can type git status, so it will show that you have modified this file. Then we can bring it to the staging area using command git add dot. Then we can write git commit hyphen m user friendly message, so I can write modified names.cs. Okay, Now if you type git log hyphen hyphen one line, see, we have three commits. So these commits are basically your code version, right? So on the first day, my code looks like this. Okay, after that I made some changes, and my second code version look like this. My third code version look like this. Okay. So if I want to see that what code changes I did in this commit, so I can do it using command git show and this commit id. This commit id. So it will show you that you have added student.cs class and you have written this method as a part of this commit. Okay. So what we have seen till now? So we have seen command git diff. It shows the difference between the current code state and the code which was committed. Okay. If we have seen git show command, so what does it do? It will show you the changes that you did in particular commit. Okay. So let's do one thing. Suppose we have written another piece of code. Suppose we have created another method and we name it class.cs. Class.cs, right? And we have written one method inside it, int public int get bench count. It will return 5. It will return 5. Now you have created another file and you have added some methods on it. Now if I write get status, it will show you that okay, you have this file untracked. It is not being tracked by git, so you have to first bring it to the staging area. So you brought it to the, you bring these changes to the staging area. Now you realize that okay, as of now I don't want to commit this code, but also I don't want to lose this code. So what you can do, you can send it to the backstage, right? You can send it to the backstage, and whenever you need this code you can bring it on the stage. So what we did, so if any person comes on the stage and he asks, hey photographer, please click my picture. So what photographer will say, currently I am busy, so you please go to the backstage. Whenever I am free, I'll call you back on stage and we'll click your picture. So in the code what you did, so the change for which you don't want to commit and also you don't want to lose, you send it to the backstage. So how to send changes backstage? So you can write git stash command. Git stash command. So see, class.cs file now it is removed, right? It is gone to the backstage. So now suppose if I need it, so I can write again git stash pop, sorry, git stash pop. So what it will do, it will bring the changes from the backstage to the, so git stash pop, it will bring back my changes from the backstage. So see, this changes again comes from the backstage area, and now it is on the stage, so you can commit it. So git commit hyphen m and user friendly message class.cs added. So if you type git log hyphen hyphen one line, so if you type git log hyphen hyphen one line, so you can see you have 4 commits. So you have maintained 4 commit history. Okay, so as of now we have seen what is git stash. You can, if for the changes for which you don't want to commit and also you don't want to lose it, so you can keep it in the backstage area. So you can write git stash. We have seen git stash pop. So git stash pop, this command will basically it bring your changes from backstage to the staging area. Okay. So suppose so now in your code so now in your code we have four commits. We have four commits. Okay. So we have four commits. We have four commits. And if you look into the code, here it is saying head. Head is here at the last commit. So what does it mean? What is this master? Okay, so let's understand this. So if you look into the commits, it is forming like a chain like structure. Like right? It is forming a chain like structure. So if you remember linked list in data structure, in linked list also every node, right? You are having many nodes and each node is connected to the next node. And a pointer called head, a pointer called head, it points to the last node. So here also you are having a you are having four commits in your code and head is currently pointing to the last commit. Okay. What is this master? Master is basically this branch. So it is forming a branch like structure, a single chain like structure. So it is your branch and the name of the branch is by default master. Okay. So now suppose this is my commit 1, right? This is my commit 2. This is my commit 3. This is my commit 4. This is my commit 4. Now what if this last commit it contains some error, right? It's a buggy code and it breaks your application. So how we can revert back to the previous version of the code where the application was working well. So in program we can do it. Suppose this commit. This suppose this commit contains some error, right? It contains some buggy code and we want to remove this code. So how what we can do? So if you look here, you can simply point this head pointer to this commit. So if you point this head pointer to this commit will be removed, right? This commit will be removed. So this commit will be removed. So we can do this in program using command git reset hyphen hyphen hard and the commit id on which you want to point your commit. So git reset hyphen hyphen hard and the commit id on which you want to revert back. So I want my head pointer which is currently in the last commit. I want to remove this commit. I want to remove the changes that I did in commit because it's a buggy code. So I want to remove all my changes that I did in this commit. So what I can do, I can simply point my head to the previous commit. So how I can reset this pointer to previous commit? So I can write git reset hyphen hyphen head and the commit id on which we want to point our head. See, head is now at this. So head is now pointing to this commit. So this commit will be removed. So see, class.cs file, it is our last commit and it is removed, right? So if you type git log hyphen hyphen one line, so now you can see there are only three commits. There are only three commits. The last commit is gone. And now head is pointing to this node. Okay. So we have seen git reset command. Git reset command it basically used to revert your changes to the previous version, right? So you can point the head to the previous commit. So git reset. Now suppose now suppose uh, now you want to remove all the changes that you did in this second commit, right? You want to remove all the lines of code that you have written as a part of this commit. So how you can do it? Suppose if you point this pointer to the first commit, then both of this commit will be removed, which you don't want, right? We want to remove only this commit code changes that we did in this commit. So how we can do it? So we have a command called git revert. So what git revert command does, it basically it will create another commit. So it will create another commit. This commit will be basically the revert of this commit. That means the code that we did as a part of this commit, it will be removed as a part of this commit, and head will point to this commit. Let's do it in our code. So suppose let's write git log hyphen hyphen one line. So we want to revert the code changes that we did as a part of this commit, right? So what we can do, we can write git revert and the commit id for which you want to revert. So commit id, if you press enter, right, this is asking for a user friendly message that we used to give while committing any change. So you can escape hyphen wq to exit. Okay, so if you type git log hyphen hyphen one line, so you can see that student.cs class which we have added in the second commit is now gone, it is removed, right? If you write git log hyphen hyphen one line, you can see you have four commits, and the last commit is nothing but the revert of second commit. So we have seen git revert. Okay, okay. Now suppose in this file, in names.cs file, we have these two methods, right? So if you want to see who all have done changes in this file, so in order to see who has made the changes in this file, you can write git blame and the file name names.cs. So you can see that at Shivam Kumar has done changes at this particular period of time, so he had added this line. Okay, this line has been added at this particular period of time by this user. This at this time Shivam Kumar had done this, added this line of code. So you can track who has made changes to this file at which period of time. Okay, so we have seen git blame command. Git blame command. Okay, so we are good with the git and its basic commands. Now in the second part we'll understand what is GitHub. So as of now we have seen what is Git, what is version control system, how we can install Git, how we can configure the global settings and the basic commands of Git, right? Now we'll understand what is GitHub. Okay, now let's suppose as of now we have created a, our Git project on a local machine, right? So this is my local machine, and I am the only user. I am the only user who is now contributing to this project, right? As of now I am only contributing to this project, and I am having one Git project inside my machine, local machine. Git project. Okay, now I want to invite someone to contribute to my code, right? I want someone to look into my code and implement some feature. So how I can do it? As it these changes are in my local machine, right? Other people are not aware of my changes, my code base. So what I can do, so I can host my project, I can store my code base on a remote server, okay, somewhere on the cloud, so that other people can from different part of the country or different region can look into my code, right? Or I can invite other person also to contribute to my project. Okay, so again, other fellow contributor will have his own machine, and now you will push this Git project on the remote server. You can push this on your remote server, right? And the other people who wants to contribute to this code can pull your changes in his local machine. So what is this remote server? So if we talk about GitHub, so GitHub is basically a platform where you can host your Git projects. Simple, so that you can collaborate in your project. So you can invite other person to contribute to your code. Okay. Now let's see how we can use GitHub. Okay. So if you type GitHub on browser, you can see you can create your account. You can simply type your email address and you can sign up for GitHub. So it is very easy, very simple step to create an account in GitHub. So we are not going to cover this as it is very simple. So I'll go to my GitHub account. So if I go to my GitHub account, I'll show you the UI of the GitHub. So this GitHub, it offers you a UI on the top of Git. Okay. So what does it shows? If I go to my profile, I can see that I have some contribution activity that I did over a particular period of time. I worked on some project. Then after I'm having my username, right? I am having this repository. These are basically my projects, right? So if you open any repository, what you can see that if you go to this commits, right? We have already seen what is commit in a Git. So you can see that there are many commits, right? There are many commits. So you can see that uh, this commit is made by Pratik, and he committed 3 years ago, and the changes that he did, so this was the changes that he did in my code, right? So he contributed to my project and he did these changes at this particular period of time. So these are the history of your code base, right, over time. So this it maintains the history of your code over time, who has made the change, when the changes were made, everything. So this GitHub, it basically provides you a better interface. On top of it, it provides you some extra functionality to maintain and collaborate others into your project. Okay, so we have seen how GitHub looks like, right? Now we'll start pushing our local code to GitHub. So we'll create a repository. Repository is nothing but your project. So I'll name it as tutorial git tutorial. I'll keep it public so that other people in this world can also look into my code, right? And I can say create repository. So this create repository, what it does, it basically, so I have got a remote server. So this is the URL of my server. Now if I want to push my code to this server, I can do it using the instruction given below, right? So I'll copy this command. You can copy SSH or you can copy HTTPS command, right? So I'll copy this command. First I have to set up this configuration, this remote URL into my local machine, so that I can push my code from local machine to this URL, to this remote server. Okay, so what I can do, see, okay, so I am already having my project in the local machine. So if I want to push it to my remote server, so what I can do, so first of all I have to, what I have to do, so I have to add this remote URL onto my local machine, right? So I can type control C, copy. So if I paste this command, you can see get remote. So remote is basically pointed to your remote server. It is basically telling that, hey, I am configuring some remote server URL into your local machine. Okay, what is this origin? So it is the name of this URL. This remote server has this URL, and now I want to name it. to this URL. I am naming this URL as origin, so that in future if I want to push some code, I don't want to write this URL again and again. I can simply write origin. Okay. So if you type enter, okay. So if you want to see if you want to see all the remote URL that is saved in your local machine, so you can write get remote minus v. So it will show you that here you have this URL stored in your local machine, from where you can pull and push your changes. Okay, so now if you want to pull if I want to push this to my remote server, what I can do, so I can write the command get push hyphen u origin main. So since we have seen our default branch name is master, so you can write master. For many machine it shows default name as main, so you can write main. So enter. So you will see that your local changes, your local project is now pushed to your remote server. So if you refresh this page, you can see you have names.cs added, right? You can see four commits. This four commits that you did in your local machine is now pushed to this server, right? So if you type get log hyphen hyphen one line, you can see you have four commits. Here also it is showing four commits, right? It is showing you in better UI form. So if you click in any of the commit, you can see that what changes I did as a part of that commit. So I have added this piece of code in this commit. Now we have understood what is GitHub. Okay, so as of now we have seen what is GitHub, what is GitHub. Okay, how GitHub looks, how GitHub looks, GitHub looks. And then we have pushed our code to our remote server. So we have seen how we can push our changes using command git push. Okay. Now let's create one more commit in our project and push it to the remote server. So how we can do it? So let's add one more file and name it github.cs. I'll create one method void public void show github code, right? So I have added some line of code and I've created this file. So if I write git status, so it will show you that hey, this file is not being tracked by git. So if you want to track, you first bring it to the staging area. So I brought these changes to the staging area. Now I can ask hey git, please commit the picture of this code base. I can give user friendly message github.cs added. Okay, now if I want to push this change onto the remote server, I can write push get push origin. Origin is the name of the URL, right? Remote server URL. So I can press enter. Now all of these changes will be now pushed to my remote server. So if you go here, if you go to my remote repository, if you refresh this page, you can see that there will be one more file pushed, right? github.cs. See how simple it is to push your code to the remote repository. Okay. Anyone in this world can push his code to my project? No. So how my remote server will identify that you are the authenticated user? So I will only allow you to push code in this project. So you have to set up one SSH. So what is this SSH? Let's understand. So okay, so not anyone in this world can contribute to your project, right? So how your remote repository will know that okay, this is the valid authenticated user. So now if you push changes from this machine only, then you can contribute to this project. right? So you have to set up one SSH. So what is this SSH, right? It is something which tells that, hey, this is an authenticated user, right? So you have to first set up SSH into your local machine. So it will create two files. It will have two files. One is private file and one is public key. So what is this private and public key? Okay. So if I go to my profile, if you go to settings, right? In setting you can see SSH and GPG keys. So I have already set up SSH key for my machine, right? So now if you want to set up SSH key, you can go to generate a GPG. You can go to this link connecting to GitHub using SSH key, and you can follow this documentation, generating a new SSH key and adding it to SSH agent. So what you have to do, first you have to create a SSH key in your local machine using this command. Okay, now there will be two files, one is private file and public key. So these both keys will be created in your local machine. So the public key content you have to paste it in your GitHub account, right? So now we will see what is branching in Git. Okay, so let's understand what is branching. Okay, imagine you have three commits. You have three commits in your application, right? You have three commits, and this is my first commit, this is my second commit, this is my third commit, and head is currently pointing to my last commit. Head will point to my last commit. So this is my last commit, right? And all of these commits are now linked with each other. Okay, right. So this is my application and I am having three commits in this project. Okay, so it is a single branch. I am working on this master branch. I am working on this one branch where I have pushed three commits. Okay, suppose if I ask someone to contribute to my code, I have invited someone to contribute to my code. Suppose I have asked Ankit, hey Ankit, please look into my code and please work on feature A, right? So now what Ankit did, Ankit started committing to the same branch, right? Ankit started committing to the same branch. He started committing to the same branch. So he has two commits, right? He can have more commits, but as of now he has two commits. Okay, so he has two commits. Let's give it a different color so we can identify that it's Ankit commit. Okay, now Ankit has committed his changes in this code, and so now our head will point to this commit. So there can be many commits, right, that Ankit had made. You can't go and revert the individual commits. Okay, so what we can do, right? So now it is very hard to maintain this code. It is very hard to now revert the changes. So what we could have done, so this is not a good practice. This is not a good practice if you're working on any different feature of any or anyone else is contributing to your code. He should not commit in the same branch, right? If anyone is working on some different feature, he should have created a separate branch. Okay, so let's imagine how my code looks before I invited Ankit. So okay, so my code looked like this. Initially I had three commits and my head it pointing to the last commit. So I have invited Ankit, hey Ankit, please come and contribute to my project, please work on the feature A. So what he should do, he should create another branch from this head, right? So he should create another branch, sorry, he should create another branch, and he should have committed in this branch. He should have committed in this branch, right? So he should have taken another branch from this head, and he should have committed in his branch. Okay, let's color it differently so that we can identify that it's Ankit commit. Okay, and now my head will point to this commit, the last commit. My head will point to this commit, right? Okay. Now what if Ankit says, hey, I have written my code, I have implemented this feature. Now you please merge this in your master branch. Okay. So what Git will do, it will create another commit, right? So this is a bigger commit. This commit contains all these three commit code changes, right? So so it will commit in my master branch, and now my head will point to this, right? And I can remove this branch now. I can remove this branch as it is already merged in master branch. So see, now if later I recognize that Ankit has written bad code, so I it is very easy to now revert this change, right? I can simply point my head back here. Or even if I had made some another changes after this, I can simply revert this particular commit, right? So see how it is simple, how it is easy with branching to maintain the code, how it made simple to revert the changes. So we should always follow this practice. So if you're working on any new feature, we should create a different branch. Okay, now let's do this in code. If you type get status, okay, so you have nothing to commit. So suppose I invited Ankit, and I have asked him to work on a feature A. So what Ankit will do? Ankit will create a different branch. So he can write get checkout hyphen B. So this checkout will basically switches to a branch, minus will it will create a new branch. So the name of the new branch, let's say it's Ankit branch. So what Ankit has done, Ankit has created a branch name called Ankit branch, and he switched to that branch. Now if he does any changes, it will be committed to this Ankit branch. So suppose if he created another file, if he created feature a .cs, and he wrote some code int x equals 5, right? If he commits this, so he bring it to the staging area, he commit this change with a user friendly message feature a, right? He written some more code. He wrote some more code, so he wrote this part of code. So he implemented some more code, so he will commit this code again. So he'll write git commit feature a modified. Okay, so we have written git add instead of git we have written int. That is why it is saying that command not found, and we have not seen that. So that's why it is saying that changes not staged for commit. So we have not brought these changes to the staging area, and we have directly trying to commit it. So git will ask no, I'll not take the picture unless and until you will bring these changes to staging area. So what should we do? We should first bring it to the staging area, then we commit this change. So Ankit has committed this change and feature a modified. If we look get log hyphen hyphen one line, so you can see that okay, uh, my master my master is here, which contains only this commits 5 commit, and now Ankit branch where head is currently pointing to, it has 2 extra commits. which is not in my master branch. So once Ankit completes this feature, he has implemented this feature. Now he'll ask, hey Shivam, please merge this in your master branch. So what I'll do, I'll go to my branch, so I can switch branch using git checkout. Then I'll go to my master branch and I'll say git merge. So which branch I want to merge? I want to merge Ankit branch. Okay, so if we type git log hyphen hyphen one line, so you'll see, so you will see that both Ankit branch and master branch contains all of these commits, right? So Ankit branch changes has been merged into the master branch and head is now pointing to master. So now I can delete this Ankit branch. So you can delete it using command git branch hyphen d and the name of this branch, Ankit branch. So before deleting this branch, if you type git branch, so it will show you all the branches that your project is having. So you are having two branch, Ankit branch and master branch. So now you can delete this branch. So you can delete this branch using using the command git branch space hyphen d and the name of the branch which you want to delete. So Ankit branch. See, deleted branch Ankit branch, right? So now if you write git branch, you can see there's only one branch named master. Okay. Okay, now you can write git log hyphen hyphen one line. Now we'll see that there's only one branch master where head is pointing to the this last commit and master contains all of this commit. Okay. So now how can I create a branch and push it to my GitHub, right? So this is me who has done all the changes, who has asked for merge, who has merged a change. But in large application, when other people contributes, so what he does, so what he will do, he will first create, let's add git status, right? Now let push this code, git push. So these changes that commits will be now pushed to my remote server, right? If you go to my GitHub, hmm, see, if you refresh this page, if you refresh this project, you will see feature a.cs added. Okay, okay. Now I have this project, right? Git tutorial project in my in my remote server, right, on GitHub. Now, if I invited someone else to please contribute to my code, so what he can do? What he can do? So if I asked him to implement feature B, so what he will do? He will create a local branch. He will create another branch in his local machine, right? He will commit the changes. He will do the changes. Then he will raise a pull request. So what it is mean by pull request, let's see. So how another person will say you that, hey, I have completed my changes, please merge it to your master branch. So another way of saying it is pull request, right? He will raise a pull request and request you to merge the changes in your master branch. Let's do it. So we'll create another branch, get checkout minus b, and name it feature b. Sorry, name it feature b. Name it feature b. Okay. So now I am switched to this branch. Now what I will do? I'll write git. Now if we'll write git, let's create one more file. Name it feature b.cs. Feature b.cs, right? Feature b.cs. I have written some code, string y equals feature b. So now he has implemented feature b. What he will do? He will commit this change. He will commit this change. He will commit this change with a user friendly message, feature B. Now he will push this code. So you will see a error, get push. It is suggesting this command. Yes. So if you create any different branch which is not in the remote server, first you have to do it using this command. Okay. So if you go to GitHub, you will see that feature B has recent changes. So you can compare, he can compare, and he can create a pull request. So what is this pull request? So if the maintainer of this project, right, maintainer of this project, he will look that okay, someone has requested to merge his code in my master branch, so I can see what code has he has written. Okay, so if I find this code correct, okay, so what I can do, I can merge this. I can merge this in my master branch. Okay, and you can also delete this branch. Okay, so if you go to your code, see feature b.cs, it is added 1 minute ago. So this is pull request, right? Okay, so we have seen, right? So we have seen what is branching in Git, right? We have seen how we can create another branch using command git checkout, right? We can we can switch to another branch using command git checkout. Sorry, I can create another branch using command git branch, right? If you want to create another branch and switch to that branch in a single command, so you can write git checkout hyphen b and the name of the branch. Okay, we have seen what is pull request, how to push your branch to GitHub, what is merging. So we have seen these concepts, right? Okay. So I'll be sharing the link of this documentation where we have various commands. So try to explore this command. We have covered most of the commands from this documentation, right? I'll share this flow also. So I think we have covered most of the things, right? Most of the things we have covered. So that's it. And yeah, that's it.